Good morning, everybody. And we are back with the Bishop Car Chronicles. It's time for another segment of Renewing the Mind and the Body for Healthy Living. And while the notifications are going out, we'd like to send out our birthday shout outs to Miss Danielle Williams, to Overseer Carlton Funderburg, to Elder Jeremy Friesen, to Lisa Rosenkrantz, to Desiree Long, to Pastor Carmen Williams. And if today is your birthday, I pray that your day is filled with many blessings, gifts, and love from all around, and that you enjoy as many of the sweet things as you desire. Just don't make yourself sick, all right? It's your day. Go out, celebrate it, live it up. You deserve it. Also, birthday shout out to Miss Lena Kyle. Today is her birthday as well. If this is your first time watching one of these broadcasts, I want you to know that they are to encourage you, to empower you, to educate you, to motivate you, to inspire you, and to uplift you, to move towards your destiny, operating in the purpose for which you've been created, using the gifts that are within you. I am thankful and grateful for every last one of you that are a part of the Back with the Bishop family. We've been doing this now going on 2 years. And I am just super excited, thankful, and grateful. I just can't tell you all thank you enough, because your love, your prayers, your support, your encouragement, your red and blue dots, your likes, your shares, your comments, all of that means a great deal to me. And so I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate you all for all that you do. We are in this thing together, y'all. And listen, one can chase 1,000, but two can put 10,000 to flight. So, hey, we are accomplishing a lot more together. And so I just want to let you know that I appreciate you all for that. And so today is our wonderful words of wisdom on Wednesdays is what we typically do, and share those wonderful words of wisdom. And so the word of wisdom is: be very cautious and careful of having a critical spirit or a fault-finding spirit, because, and like how the Message version says, is that it has a way of boomeranging on you. And so, don't jump on people's flaws or faults or imperfections. Don't criticize them too harshly, because that thing has a way of boomeranging on you in a way that you would never ever think or thought it could happen. Good morning, Missionary Murray. It's my cousin. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And it's very important that you don't go finding fault. Listen, there are some people who live to find fault with other individuals. So they're looking for your faults. They're looking for your flaws. They're looking for your imperfections. They're looking for your weaknesses, so that they can criticize you, so they can say, aha, I told you, and you got to be very cautious and very careful of operating in that spirit, because it has a horrible way of boomeranging on you. In other words, it's in St. Matthew 7. The King James calls it being judgmental, is what the king calls it, being judgmental. So in other words, saying, don't be judgmental, because that thing has a way of coming back at you, coming back on you, and sometimes in a way that is very uncomfortable, is very extreme for you, in a way that you did not expect for it to do. So with that, be very cautious and be very careful, be sensitive, be mindful, be prayerful. In other words, and don't go. Let me say this, because I know some people have a real bad habit of snooping around for other people's business. And my cousin shared this meme, and it just really, it tickled me, but it was so true, so funny, and was saying, don't try to make 2 and 2 equal 4 out of my own life. But what you need to do is try to make 5 and 5 and tend to your own business. In other words, so sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around somebody else's. And as a matter of fact, I think once you start sweeping around your own front door, you'll realize and find that you don't have time, energy, or space to sweep around nobody else's door, because you'll realize how much stuff is going on at your house. I'm talking to you, stuff that's happening in your house. And therefore, when you start to deal, and I was sharing with another friend of mine, that there was a minister, an intercessor, who came in and ministered at our church. And she said that one of the things that we in the body of Christ, that we are really horrible with, and that is dealing with our own stuff. We just try to sweep stuff under the rug, or we just try to ignore stuff, or we just try to bypass stuff. We try to skirt around stuff. And in other words, you can't do that. Listen, you've got to learn how to deal with your stuff. Whatever your stuff is, deal with it. I hope somebody's hearing me. Deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, then you're going to repeat the experience. And what ends up happening is, you're going to watch this. You're going to try to go and deal with somebody else's stuff, and then you're going to get called out because you haven't dealt with your own stuff. And so I like to use, I was reading in the text, and I got super blessed, if you will, extremely excited. One of my favorite stories or passages in the scriptures is the book of Esther. And I love how Esther tells this story of what Haman had did and what he was out to do against Mordecai. I absolutely love that. I mean, I was reading it, listening to it, and just getting filled with so much joy because God looks after his own. He protects his own. And so what I'm saying to you is that you don't have to try to go looking for somebody else's fault, flaws, or imperfections. Just deal with your own. Deal with your own flaw. Deal with your own mess. And because, listen, again, that thing has a way of boomeranging on you. And so what ends up happening is you haven't read the text or the passage is that Haman had set out to hang Mordecai. He hated Mordecai because Mordecai was able to see through him. And Mordecai understood and knew that he didn't like the spirit that Haman had. And so Haman's objective was to hang Mordecai. But what ended up happening is Haman had to parade Mordecai around the city because the king, now watch this, more importantly, the king, woo, that's a shouting point. The king had set out to honor Mordecai. And so therefore, Haman had to be the one to follow the king's order and show honor to Mordecai as well. And the very same gallows that Haman had built for Mordecai was the very same gallows that Haman himself was hung on. And so again, it boomeranged on him. And Haman wasn't expecting for that thing to come back around. You know, the text is so very true. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So you got to be very cautious and careful of what you're sowing and the seeds that you're sowing, because everything that you say and do, everything that you think, it becomes a seed that will grow and produce a harvest for you. And so you got to be very cautious and careful about what you're sowing. Be very cautious and careful of who you're judging. Be very cautious and careful of who you're criticizing. Be cautious and careful of who you're finding fault with, because that thing has a way of showing up in your house in a way that you never thought would ever happen. Listen, I'm telling you what I know to be the truth. This is not something that I made up. I'm telling you what I'm living. And so you have to be very careful with that, because if not, it's going to show up in a way that you don't want and that you don't really want to have to deal with. So instead of finding fault, instead of criticizing, instead of judging, try this: loving. That is what the master instructs us to do. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. So what? That person has a problem with sleeping around. Love them. No, don't affirm them in sleeping around. Love them. So what? The person has a problem with alcohol. Love them. So what? The person has a problem with smoking weeds and joints and doing meth. Love them. That's what the master instructs us to do. So what? That person may have an issue or a difficult time identifying with their orientation or their gender. It's still the same wisdom. Love them. Because, and I hope y'all hear me, if you find fault with them, just be looking and look for the day for somebody to find fault with you, because that day is coming. Just as sure as you do it to somebody else, it's going to come right back around on you. And you may not be able to handle it when it comes back on you. Good morning, Mo Steph. Thank you for tuning in. What does it say? If you can't handle it, don't dish it out. If you can't stand underneath it, don't serve it up. That's all that it is. And so that's the word of wisdom today. The word of wisdom today is don't fault find, don't criticize, don't be judgmental, because that thing got a way of boomeranging on you. I'm talking about as soon as you throw that thing out, it's going to shoot right back around on you. And if you don't want to be judged, if you don't want to be criticized, if you don't want to be put under the gun, don't do it to anybody else. That's the word of wisdom today. Just love them. That's what we are instructed and encouraged to do. I know every human on this planet has a flaw. They have a fault. They got to use deodorant. They got to use toothpaste. They got to use soap and water. Listen, because they're human. Humans have flaws. Humans have faults. There's not one human on this planet that doesn't. But if you start to deal with yours, hear me, you start to deal with yours, You won't have time to look at anybody else's and look for anybody else's because you're dealing with yours. And sometimes people try to cast the light on other people just to keep the light off of themselves. So it'll be like, oh, yeah, you hear about so-and-so, and so-and-so kid was over there doing this, and so-and-so kid was the one that was out there shooting, and so-and-so, but to keep the light off of themselves. But no, hey, turn that light on you today. Turn that light on your stuff. On your stuff. Deal with your stuff today. Let's do that. How about that? Deal with your stuff. And I guarantee you, as you start to deal with your critical spirit, as you start dealing with your judgmental spirit, as you start dealing with your envious spirit, as you start dealing with your bitter heart, hear me, I'm talking to you. As you start dealing with the malice that's in your heart, when you start dealing with the anger that's in your spirit, when you start dealing with the unforgiveness that's in your spirit, you won't have time to find fault with nobody else. You won't have time to be critical of nobody else. Because again, you turn that thing in on you. And that's what keeps other people from judging you, because you're judging yourself. And that is also how you remain free. That is also how you remain liberated, because I'm judging me. Therefore, nobody else can. You can't judge me. Nobody else can judge Lamont Emmanuel Walker. Why? Because I'm sitting in the judgment seat on me. I hope somebody hears me. I'm judging me. So you can't judge me. And that's how you keep other people from judging you. Judge yourself. And be real and be true, because you can't hide nothing from God. I learned that a long time ago. I got to go. I learned that a long time. You can't hide nothing from God. And so I go to God in prayer, and I ask God to keep me humble, and I ask God to keep me under his word and keep me in subjection to his Holy Spirit and keep me covered by the blood, because I have too many flaws, faults, and imperfections within me. And listen, I need him to continue to work on me. I need him to continue to improve me. I need him to continue to upgrade me so that I can be a reflection of his light, of his love, of his grace, of his joy, of his peace. So the word of wisdom today is stop finding fault, stop criticizing, stop being judgmental, because that thing has a way of boomeranging around on you in a way that you don't expect. Thank you so much, Mostaf. He says, turn the camera on selfie mode and deal with that person. Absolutely, absolutely. I pray that you all have been encouraged, empowered, educated, motivated, inspired, and uplifted to move towards your destiny, operating in the purpose which you've been created, using the gifts that are within you. I love each and every last one of you that are on here today, and I'm praying for you to start dealing with your stuff. And I'm signing off by saying, hello, 2019. I'm going up, and so are you. And what's to come for you and for me, it's better than what's been. Mad love.